The Galaxy S22 Plus is a couple years old now, but considering the price, is it still a good option in 2024? Well, let's talk about it. Now, as far as the price goes, you'll be able to get this for quite a bit less than the S24 Plus and the S23 Plus. I actually got this one renewed from Amazon, which is just over $300. Obviously, depending on which version you get, the price is going to change a little bit. But if you compare that to some of the mid-range phones from Samsung or just most other phones in that category, I think this phone still has quite a bit going for it. Nice thing is about the Amazon renewed version is you have a 90-day return policy. So if you have any issues or if it doesn't work on your carrier, you've got 90 days to decide if you want to keep it. It's got a 6.6-inch dynamic AMOLED 2X display with 1080 by 2340 resolution and up to 120 Hz refresh rate. It's got 8 GB of RAM, 128 or 256 GB of storage. There's two different processors depending on which version you get. It's got a Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 processor for the United States. If you have the international version, I believe it's an Exynos 2200. It weighs in at about 195 grams. As you can see, pretty fancy box here for the Amazon renewed version. Looks like they also throw in an off-brand USB-C to USB-A charging cable. This renewed version looks like it's brand new. Doesn't look like there's any scratches or defects as far as the build quality goes. Design of this one reminds me a lot of my S21 Plus that I used to have. I know some people like the newer style where it's more flat on the edges, but in my opinion, I feel like this is a little more comfortable in the hand. Now this one's really glossy on the edges. I'd probably like that a little better if it was a matte finish. I like the S21 series, but still looks really nice in person. I don't believe this one takes a micro SD card. If you do happen to get the Amazon renewed version, I would go into settings, search for reset, and do the factory data reset just to make sure you start off with a clean slate, and then you can put in your own information. Here's a quick size comparison next to the S24 Plus. The S24 is just a tad thicker, maybe just a hair taller. Now when setting up, you've got face unlock, fingerprint, PIN, password, and pattern. Now software on this looks very similar to other Samsung phones. The one interesting thing about this version, now for some reason this version is still on Android 13 where it should have had the Android 14 update by now, but after doing some research it appears the Exynos version has already got the update. I'm kind of surprised the Snapdragon version hasn't been updated yet. I assume it'll be updated before too long. Fingerprint scanner works really nice on this one. I definitely prefer the way Samsung does their fingerprint scanner over some of the Pixel phones I've used, which feel quite a bit slower. The screen quality on here actually looks really nice. I don't feel like it's much different than on my S24 Plus. But if you want to save battery life, you can go into the settings and change it from 120 to 60 Hz refresh rate. Just keep in mind if you do switch it to standard, it's not going to be quite as smooth as adaptive, but you will get a little better battery life. Nice thing is you do have Samsung DeX on here. Plus this has video out, so if you want to connect this to an external monitor, projector, or TV, you can use an HDMI adapter. Now this still has the older style notification shade, but nice thing is you've got link to Windows, screen recorder, nearby share, quick share. It also has Samsung DeX, which you don't get on some of the newer mid-range phones like the A55 and A35. And of course you can add a lot of other things like NFC, take screenshot, extra dim, secure folder, and so on. Performance-wise, the Geekbench numbers are pretty comparable to the A55 that just came out recently, but the S22 Plus is quite a bit better on GPU performance, which is definitely going to make it feel faster when doing more intense multitasking or gaming. The nice thing is you can use controllers like this when you're gaming. It doesn't have any crazy camera bump on the back like the Pixel or some of the other phones out there, so that's always nice to have. You can also get a little better gaming performance and use higher settings on games like PUBG Mobile and Asphalt 9 on this phone versus some of the mid-range phones. It also has a 4500 milliamp hour battery with up to 45 watt fast charging. I also ran my typical battery drain test, and I was guessing this would be less than my S24 Plus, but I wasn't expecting this much less. It lasted about 8.5 hours at 100% screen brightness before dying, while my S24 Plus lasted over 16 hours, although that one's probably one of the best phones that I've tested when it comes to battery life. But if you compare it to the Pixel 8 Pro, that one lasted about 10 hours. So maybe it's because this is an Amazon renewed version, or it could just be the S22 Plus just has less battery life. We'll see how it goes because I might switch to this one as my main phone just to test it out some more. And this one also has wireless charging, which you're not gonna get on the newer phones like the A35 or the A55. The speakers on here might not be the loudest out there, but they're definitely loud enough, especially if you turn on Dolby Atmos. Here's a quick sample just to give you an idea of what it sounds like. It's got a triple camera setup on the back with a 50 megapixel wide angle lens, 10 megapixel telephoto, and a 12 megapixel ultra wide. It also has a 10 megapixel front facing camera as well, and you can shoot up to 8K resolution for video recording. Now this does still have the older style camera app. You've got portrait, photo, video. Under more, you've got quite a few things like Expert RAW, Pro Video, Night, Food, Panorama, Super Slow-Mo, Slow Motion, Hyperlapse, Portrait Video, Director's View, and Single Take. I feel like the shutter speed might be a tad bit faster on the S24 Plus, but it's fairly close. Here's a few samples just to give you an idea of what to expect from the cameras on the S22 Plus. As you can see from the photo and video samples, it still does a really nice job and probably feels more flagship quality than the A35 or A55. And I feel like this phone could be a good option for someone looking for an older flagship. But like I said earlier, I need to test this one a little more to see how the battery life is once I'm using it every day, because it definitely seems like it's less than other Samsung phones that I've used. If you like phones, tablets, and other tech, I've got quite a few more stuff that I'm working on. So you'll want to keep an eye out for those upcoming videos. So if you've made it this far into the video, you may want to say thanks by subscribing, and don't forget to give a thumbs up if this video was helpful. This is Brian from Fishbee Productions. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.